Hi, my name is Angela, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about interview preparation, so pharmacy residency interviews. This will be part one of a, I don't know how long, part series, but there's just a lot to talk about with interviews, so I just wanted to start with this video that just is about general tips, mainly relating to professionalism and your appearance during interviews. Just a reminder, this channel is about my residency training and kind of my residency path, and so I'm giving tips and advice. I went through residency interviews in February. All of my interviews were in February of 2021, so I feel like I remember at least most of that information, so that's why I'm trying to make these videos now, even though people may benefit from them this this next year in 2022 or whenever you decide that you'll be applying, and then you'll maybe be doing interviews, hopefully. So the importance of interviews cannot be overstated. It's really important. They could make or break you. It totally is a different picture of what you look on paper versus what you look like in person and how you act in person. They both tell very different stories sometimes. Hopefully you would match up with what you are like on paper with what you're like in person, or even better in person. That's kind of the goal. But interviews could be online. They could be virtually, like in a video chat. They could be in person. That's usually the preferred way. I did all online interviews because of COVID, but they could be also over the phone. A lot of people I knew got phone interviews, like mini interviews before their actual in-person interviews, just to kind of ask a few brief questions for programs that were really big, had a lot of applicants, and wanted to narrow down their range even more. They could be solo interviews, or they could be in groups, and they usually will have a different agenda for each different type of program you're interviewing for. And so all of the day you could be alone, or you could be alone one-on-one interviews part of the day, or you could be all day with every group. It just depends on the program. It just depends on what they're used to doing and what they want to do. It could be an all-day event, which some of my interviews definitely were all-day events, and otherwise it could be half-day events or partial of a day, maybe 4 hours or 3 versus, like a 5 or 6 hour interview day. But often you'll get a schedule in advance. You'll get the notification of your interview and you'll select the day, or you'll work with their available dates. Just depends whether it's a short turnaround or fast turnaround or long turnaround, but if you have to kind of have a lot of advance notice, or if you can schedule it pretty quickly. It really just depends. And COVID is, again, a unique situation because I had all online interviews, so it was a little bit easier because I didn't have to adjust for travel time getting there. So that's another consideration I didn't have. But when you get your schedule, it'll have what your events are in terms of one-on-one interviews or group interviews, who you're talking to, the field that they're in, so what their role is, either in your education or in the residency program in general, what activities you'll be, undertaking, if there's certain clinical parts to your interview, or if there's certain more like group interviews or questions that you can ask them, a really good time for you to ask a lot of questions. You'll have kind of an agenda, so it's really helpful. You can really know what's going to go on during the day, so you're less stressed, and that's really great. But some general tips: show up early, earlier than you think, probably by at least 5 minutes more than you would think you need to be there early, just to account for traffic, to account for you running late, to account for getting there and getting lost. Just show up early. It'll help you out. Wear appropriate clothes, which is very broad, but something that you enjoy wearing, I guess, something that you feel comfortable in, but something that is, modest and muted. You never want to wear something that is inappropriate and something that could potentially be seen as something that where they're focusing on you and what you look like versus what you're saying and who you are. They want to remember you, and you want them to remember what you're bringing in terms of your abilities and your personality and all those other things, not what you're wearing. So anything distracting from you and what you're saying is not going to be to your benefit. So that's why something modest and something muted in terms of just, primary colors or things that are seen as professional. So black, white, navy, those kind of things. Just try to pick something that would, again, bring the focus to you and what you're saying and not what you look like. And women are technically, women are often advised to wear like blazers. So that's just a tip from something that I had. I wore a blazer to my interviews. I wore the same thing for every single one of my interviews, which is really, I think, nice. And no one knew but me, so that was a benefit. But you just want, again, wear nothing flashy, modest makeup, hair, things like that. Be yourself, but understand that you can be too distracting, and it's going to be different if you were just dressing up for like a wedding or a big event versus dressing up for your interview. There's a different goal in mind. So introduce yourself to everyone you meet in your interview. Try to refer to people as doctor or Mr. or Mrs., things like that, very professional manner. Smile. One of my greatest tips was from my mom, and she said to look so excited to be there that they can tell that your enthusiasm, it comes through in your smile. So I thought that was a great tip because I could tell even virtually people I interviewed with who just didn't look happy to be there. And not that there's anything wrong with that, and at times it was just kind of a different environment, I guess, even online, or, if it's a long day or you've done several of these, you're kind of worn down. But show your enthusiasm, because often it's not that you're unenthusiastic about the program and about them, it's just that there's other things bogging you down. So try to push through that and remember to show your enthusiasm by, in your off time, smiling. It doesn't have to be a huge, fake kind of smile. Just show your enthusiasm and remember how excited you are to be there to interview. Likely you're very excited. You just need to remind yourself of it. And then watch your ums and so and things that I probably say a lot on my videos, but it's that extra step of polishing how you talk that they will really be able to distinguish you from other interviewees. So, like I just said, so whenever you're answering a question, maybe just start with your answer and not have that initial so. And that's not to be super worried about it, and every single thing you say has to be polished, but it is helpful when you're addressing questions, and it's just going to make you look that extra step polished. So just keep that in mind. Eye contact is really important. When you do online interviews, you're going to be staring at a black camera, and it's not going to be fun, but that's what they see on the other end. They see you looking at them, so it's going to be useful for you to remember that it's not always about what you're experiencing, but what they're experiencing. Looking them in the eye, body language is important, leaning in, things like that, showing that you're not sitting back and just kind of bored. Just keeping all those things in mind are important. So, and lastly, just a general tip is just be yourself. That's all you can be. You can't be anyone else. They want to see the true you. They want to know who they're going to be working with potentially. If you're accepted and you match there, be honest about what you like and what you don't like, what your passions are and what you're not. Be real. So they can often tell if you're not being true with them and you're just trying to get the spot. So just be who you are. And just a couple of tips for online formats. I don't know if it'll be something that's very prevalent going forward if COVID restrictions lift, but you want to get a background that's solid and not distracting. Mine is probably too distracting. It's got some things with it that might make the viewer look at other things besides me. So solid background or something non-distracting that contrasts with your outfit. So, I'm wearing gray and that's white. So that's a contrasting thing. It makes me stand out in terms of the colors behind me. Get a ring light. It's just something that you should do to make your lighting. It makes it so much better. Amazon has cheap ones. I can even post one below that I got. And watch if you wear glasses, because they will reflect and you can see your ring light in them. So not too fun for them, but natural lighting is best. I have natural lighting right now pretty much, and you can see that it really does show everything that you need to show in terms of your face, not a lot of shadows, and they can see who you are. They want to see who you are, especially if you're virtual. They want to get as good of a picture as they can. Have some water with you. I just had a plain glass, but in my morning interviews I did have coffee mug, and it wasn't frowned upon, and it made me seem, again, I think it made me seem more real. It was early in the morning and they knew that I had some coffee with me to help me get my day going, so that's not off limits. Take notes, but don't take notes often during your interview. They don't want to see you always looking down. They want to see your face again, want to see your responses, your reaction. But I think it's good to take notes. It shows that you care and you're trying to be active in this process and making sure you see the likes and dislikes of the program and evaluating them. Again, you're not just passive in this whole thing. So there's a balance with taking notes, but I would have like a notepad or something to take notes with. Don't do a swivel chair. Right now I'm in a solid chair. I don't have the temptation to move around and be distracting, so don't do a swivel chair. I put a couple reminders around my computer, some sticky notes that told me to smile and told me to talk slower because I have a problem with that. So they can't see that in online interviews, so I would go ahead and use that. And yeah, just get ready to stare at a black circle for hours. It's just something I would tell people to not be shy about. And if you have a certain function where you can put the image right next to the camera so you can look at them and then also have the camera right above, that's what I would do. But to be quite honest, it was me looking at the black circle on the camera. And I just think that that's going to give them the best view of you. So I would try to get used to it and not be too uncomfortable with it. And don't get on your phone a lot during those interviews. That should be in general for any interview, but even on online formats, it's even easier and more tempting when your phone's sitting right there and you know that no one else is in the room but you technically. So, but don't do that. So this is part 1 of the interview tips. I will go ahead and do the other parts as following, because there's a lot of things I want to say, but if you have comments, questions, post them below. Share this with someone you think it would be helpful for, and like it if you liked it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.